Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Harley Carnes podcast, Harley on the Headlines. I want to thank you for joining in. We're going to take a look together at some of the news of the day. You know, I like to say this is a partnership, I get up, I start digging through the stories, I do the cast, and then you help other people tell us that it's here, or tell them that it's here. Anyway, I appreciate it if you do. Liking, subscribing, following it all sure makes a difference for trying to grow this little puppy. In the meantime, let's get started here. The third round of nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran are underway in Geneva. Now, Iran is really active right now. In Iran, there is tension and trouble for the people. The Ayatollahs are worried, and they're taking it out on them. They're worried because they can see all the U.S. warships off the coast, and they know the Air Force doesn't even need a runway nearby. They can launch from the other side of the world. That's what they did last time. So now Iran is saying, here's an idea. Let's split our negotiations for a kind of peace and weapons deal into two deals. One would be focused on nuclear weapons, which we want and plan to have. The other focused on non-nuclear issues. That way, Iran is saying maybe we can make a good deal faster. We don't know exactly what the Trump administration's reaction to that is, but it probably goes something along the lines of no more stalling. The nuclear question is the big one, and if we don't settle that and quick, what'll happen will make sanctions and all the rest look like a sidewalk argument. It'll rain steel and fire. It won't be good. It isn't just about nukes anymore. Iran has ballistic missiles that can easily reach Israel and some that might be able to hit the U.S. And Israel has said a deal that does not diminish, if not eliminate, both of those threats is no deal at all. And Iran teaches every day a master class in stalling. It's becoming more and more difficult to see how war can be prevented at this point because every week of prevarication and delay is a week closer to a nuclear Iran. Also seems that every day the Jeffrey Epstein scandal claims another powerful person. This time it's the president and CEO of the World Economic Forum, Borja Brenda, who is resigning now that his relationship with Epstein's smarmy sex circle is becoming known. The forum is investigating to see how deep it went and what damage was done. Not just him. Former U.S. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers has now resigned from his professorship at Harvard University. It's just mind-blowing how wide the Epstein net really reached and how high, how far up. I mean, how many tippy-top people have tumbled already in various organizations and in nations. Oh, my gosh, this is crazy. By the way, Democrats have been pointing fingers at the administration saying a bunch of documents were left out of the 3 million plus that were released related to the Epstein scandal and investigation. Their assertion, without any real evidence of it yet, is that withholding was to protect Trump. So the Department of Justice says it'll do a review. If documents were mistakenly withheld, they will release them. And the most gossip-worthy moment yet in the Epstein scandal is beginning today, the testimony, depositions taken by the House Oversight Committee of Hilary and Bill Clinton. 2 days of depositions are scheduled. This is Hilary's day on the griddle. Now, Hilary probably doesn't know all that much, but maybe, and everyone's ready to be surprised. Bill, on the other hand, if he comes clean, the world will be riveted. But honestly, what are the chances of that happening? I mean, we've lived our lives, right? We've known Bill forever. Ain't happening. The federal investigation in Medicaid fraud in Minnesota is picking up some steam. Vice President Vance, in charge of the probe, says the first step is to freeze any more Medicaid payments to Minnesota until the criminality there can be ended and sorted out. It's about $260 million, and that's just based on an audit of the last quarter of 2025. The funds will be released only after Minnesota acts on a comprehensive plan to solve the problem. And Governor Tim Walz has 60 days to respond. Now, Walz is hollering politics, but he has nobody but himself and a cadre of Ethiopian immigrant criminals who reside on the political far left and help keep him in office to blame for it. Walz has 60 days. We don't know what this is about yet, but it's interesting. The superintendent of the Los Angeles School District has at least 2 homes, and the FBI has just visited both of them with search warrants. Both homes and the school district headquarters have been searched. The FBI is not saying yet what or why. Want to see what Cuba's reaction is to any perception of enemies trying to cross its border illegally? 4 men in a speedboat were shot dead, and 6 more were wounded. Cuba claims they were Cuban terrorists living in the U.S. who wanted to invade their country and create mayhem. Might even be true. Cuban expats in the U.S. want to see an end to communist rule on their home island, and they want it yesterday. But what a comparison. At the U.S. southern border, during the last administration, tens of thousands of known criminals, including people on terrorism watch lists and suspected foreign spies and operatives, just walked across the U.S. border. The reaction? The reaction. There's the contrast, right? The Biden administration didn't catch him and jail him or send him back home. They put him on planes and buses and sent him into America's interior for free with a welcome package. Wow. There are limits to protest. Rule number 1, it's supposed to be peaceful. Greenpeace has been famous for its predominantly famous and creative peaceful protests against a variety of things, from overfishing and the killing of whales to the oil business. A judge in North Dakota says, though, Greenpeace went too far against the Dakota Access oil pipeline, talking nearly 10 years ago, such as the slow progress of court cases. It's going to cost Greenpeace $345 million in fines and damages, and they say they can't afford that. By the way, did you know Greenpeace is not American? Greenpeace International is based in Holland, the Netherlands, with offices all over the world. The protesters, by the way, had claimed the oil pipeline would damage the Sioux tribe's water supply. Didn't happen. You play pool? I do. I love the game, but I am never going to make a living with a cue stick. My son Adam, now he can play, earned a trip to Vegas a few times, took teams from New Jersey to Vegas, won a state 9-ball championship in Mississippi once. I think it was Mississippi, pretty sure. So I have to tip my hat to Maggie Kennedy. She's from Jensen Beach, Florida, and she can play pool. She's in Vegas for the BCA Nationals Pool League tournament at the tender age of 98. You heard me. Maggie Kennedy is 98, and she can play. The tournament is already underway. She still has the strength, the stance, the eyesight, and the touch to play highly competitive pool at that age. Just as important, she has the endurance. If you get good and you play for a while, it can be tiring, and that's for a young man. Now, it's one thing, or woman. Now, it's one thing to qualify for a Vegas tournament or any of the other big ones. You're on your own dime to get there. So Maggie's friends and fellow players donated $2,000 so she could fly there first class. Gotta love her attitude, too. She says she'll be playing every day through Sunday. And then, of course, she says the slot machines will be right handy. That's fun, she said. Best of luck, Maggie Kennedy. Thank you for joining in for today's Harley on the Headlines. And thank you, too, for helping spread the good word that we're doing this together. I really hope you'll like, follow, subscribe, urge some other people to do the same. I like to say, give your mom a call. Probably hadn't heard from you in too long. Get her to watch, listen, whatever. It's on Spotify and other places, too, of course. I am Harley Carnes, and we'll talk again soon. In the meantime, do yourself and me a favor. Be happy today. That's a choice. And make some good choices in your life. fly safe. It's the only way to get there. I mean, it really is.